when I started teaching in prisons. And much to my parents' horror, their perfect little girl, their little bright child, I met and fell in love with the man who was incarcerated. And then 4 or 5 years later, we got married. And 4 years after that, I became pregnant with my daughter, Nisa. So that first book, The Prisoner's Wife, really sought to discuss what does it mean to be married to somebody in prison. It's, you know, so many families. There's 7.7 million people in the country who are entangled within the criminal justice system, 2.2 million alone who are in prisons and jails, and over 10 million children right now today who have a parent who's incarcerated. And it just seemed to me that you could not discuss it anymore. And so that was what The Prisoner's Wife was about. And then when I got pregnant, you know, there were challenges, and this book is really, I was hoping to look at the idea of what does it mean to be a single mother, when you always wanted to be a mother, when there were lots of joys, but there were also a lot of challenges, socially, financially, and otherwise, and we feel often, I think, very inappropriate in discussing those challenges because it almost sounds like you're challenging the very life of your child, but the truth is a lot of mothers suffer from depression. And it doesn't mean you don't love your baby. And a lot of mothers walk around and hold this, and they may not say anything. They may be drunk every Wednesday from, you know what I mean, whatever the thing is. But they hold it. And I want that cast aside so we can talk about what it is to navigate our lives and what we need truly to be supported as human beings. So this is from something like Beautiful, One Single Mother's Story. There was nothing I wanted more than to be a mother. I had seen much of the world, written 2 books, known great and defining love. I'd certainly been more than my fair share of parties and more than my fair share of clubs. Motherhood was exactly where I wanted to be. To be pregnant with a child that was made with the love of my life, my husband, was a dream come true despite the obvious hard edges of it. But if I was to be honest and alone and away from all the criticism that penetrated my parenting style, my lifestyle in general, I knew that my desire for a child was so much larger than having no interest in parties, no interest in being in the mix. A mother now, I could begin to look at something I had spent my life both running into and away from. It is a story that is part of my bloodstream. It defines my genetic twists. And the thing about it is that it isn't especially obvious, not like a physical deformity or birthmark you can witness and name. Nevertheless, it has been both of these to me. But once I became a mother, once I gave birth, I could not stop thinking of it, and I could not avoid it, and I could not deny it. Having been adopted near my 3rd birthday, I had never seen, at least to my memory, one person who looked like me or shared my blood and particular genetic makeup. I may never understand why this hurt me so badly, left me feeling my whole life as though I came from nowhere and belonged to no one, but it has. And it was there all during my pregnancy, all the time I refused to see myself as a single mother. It was there, that thing, that heavy tarp-like thing that hung over my head, my heart, and reminded me that I was the one who was not worth being claimed. I was the one who could always be given away. Nisa would never feel that. She would never know that. She would know that she was wanted every day of her life. She was wanted even before she got here. She was wanted by her father, and she was wanted by me who looked like no one, me who came from nowhere. I looked at Nisa and was certain that as much as she came from me, I came from her. One of Rashid's friends, this was during our first visit after Nisa was born, stopped by our table in the prison and looked at my daughter and said loudly, "Man, Rashid, that girl is all you." He was joking and playing, but those words were slapped me. He couldn't have known that man, but Rashid did. He knew my past, and knowing, he rushed to my defense. He said, "You're kidding. That mouth, those eyes, those ears, that's all Asha. Can't you see?" And he implored and almost sounded convincing. This is what Rashid knew. I needed Nisa to look like me. I needed it. Nisa may very well have been my present and my future, but in a very real way, my daughter is also my past. She was, to be sure, where I was headed, but her very life said everything about where I had been, who I had not been, and who I had not come from. So there it is, perhaps the whole of my story whittled down to a few short paragraphs. And yes, I mean, it's also true that of necessity, I've had to have little faith and blood ties, but I longed for them. I longed for what I imagined they carried, all that history, those unbreakable bonds, unbroken. The oft-repeated interpretation by my parents, the ones who adopted me, the only ones I've ever known, is that I was twice loved. First by my birth mother, who must have wanted the very best of homes for me, which is why she gave me away. And then second, I was loved by them, they who chose me willingly. My own take on it, which is evidenced about as well as my parents' version of the truth, is that I was the mistake, the one who could and would always be given away. Everywhere inside of me is lived the story of a child whose sight unseen was unwanted. I admit that changed sort of when the social worker and my adopted parents, I don't wish to minimize the people who have ever taken responsibility for me and people I love deeply, but they scooped me up 911 style late one winter night out of a foster home that was rife with trouble that no one even now can fully disclose to me. I will tell myself like a mantra even to this day that my parents came to my rescue only because they'd already met me once or twice before, and once or twice before at the orphanage or whatever it was called then. People stepped in and I realized that this too makes me lucky because it was apparent there was something wrong in the foster home I lived in at the time. Even before that night, I am told my social worker would periodically take me to meet other potential parents. From the beginning, there were concerns. My mother, father, and I, it said, got along famously from the beginning. As their version of our family history goes, I was a very pretty child, startlingly verbal, inquisitive, affectionate, and an all-around charmer. I was 2.5 years old. But what if I had not been? What if I had been obviously flawed? I mean, all humans bear flaws, but some of us hide them better. So this is the question, would my parents have chosen me? What qualities must a child possess to be chosen, accepted, taken in, and loved? And not just children who are adopted, but all of our children. Is there some predetermined formula that makes one kid count and another counted out? What if I had been shy or a crier, not too bright, maybe a little funny looking? Would I have been relegated to the dank, pested cellar of child rearing, multiple foster homes or group homes? Would there have come a moment when the new parents, foster or adopted, grew tired of me, gave me back? If someone whose body could grow inside you could give you away, then anyone could, right? So my story is not about being a charming black girl who graduated high school at 15, learned how to write English before she was 8, and can discuss opera or hip-hop, depending on the audience. My story is about a girl who believes that she's not perfect, she'll be left behind. It's a kind of ultimate tale of childhood horror about being the last one picked, or worse, the one never picked when the kids on the playground are choosing sides. So here's the point. I wanted a family, and most especially a child from my own womb, because I wanted someone who would love me, flaws and all. Because they didn't have to. Didn't they have to love each other no matter what? We were, after all, family, and we had the DNA to prove it. I know this is not logical. Clearly, shared DNA did not make my birth mother bond with me, her baby, and the lack of DNA did not stop my parents from loving me or raising me. But still, I believe that it had to count for something, all those stories demonstrating the thickness of blood. So, God, I know this sounds selfish, as though my daughter is here to live for me and not the other way around, or more accurately, it sounds as though I don't know we're here in equal measure, living and giving to each other and ourselves. But I know this, too. Human beings are social creatures. We're not crocodilian, content to crouch in the weeds alone with our own shadows. We want to belong. We need to. We want to be understood by others who are like us, others whom we in return understand. We want to tribe. Unlike friends of mine who had huge, almost unimaginable biological families and a genealogy that could be traced down through generations, a great-grandmother's face that comes back to visit in the eyes, smile, or shape of a progeny a century on, I had no such beginnings, no stake in the past, no history, no root. So what other choice did I have, really? If I wanted to locate myself, to be part of a continuum, and to be sure I did want it, I had then to create it. Nisa Rashid is my tribe, my family tree, branches and all. I love you.